Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, and the IYT. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly time frames. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. If you like the videos, go to my website, sign up, it's free, or click down here in the right hand bottom corner and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Traders, you're looking for a new broker? Cobra Trading, guys. I've been using this company for about 8 years now. Hands down the best broker in the business. When you sign up or give them a call, tell them StockBookie sent you, or put in a promo code StockBookie. I remember, Cobra Trading, guys, best in the business for the serious trader. All right, let's go into the SPY daily chart. 75 million on the day. 0.15% up, or 36 cents green. So it's pretty much a pause day after this little beat down here. And man, what can I say, guys? We talked about this bullish pattern. As long as it stays above the 20 and the 50 MA, it's doing okay. It's still okay here. It's nothing terrible. We start to slide a little bit lower, then we're probably going to head towards the 200 MA. But let's see what happens next week going into options X. Do we actually turn around, come back, attack the highs, and maybe go to 250, 252, 50, and then 255? If we go through all this, consolidate sideways like we're doing here, we could pop to 260. If this pattern starts to play out down here now, we did close below the 50 and the 20. It's a little more bearish now, but there's really no pattern. So I want to see sideways action if you're bearish, and then more downward momentum. We still have the big trend line, which we've been talking about for, gosh, at least 4 or 5 months right now. That is your line in the sand. We crack that, we get past this pivot here around 240, then we most likely go into 233.72, possibly lower. For the bulls, you have to come right back up, get above the 20 and the 50, then we can go to those higher areas, 250, 255, 260, and stuff like that. But still, again, nothing to worry about. We had 120 million. Now remember, I always tell you, watch volume, watch volume. The volume picks up, most likely we're selling. Volume picked up, guess what? We sold, so watch for that. Let's go to the weekly really quick, though, since it was a Friday close. See what's happening here. So, yeah, we're still above the 20, the 50, and the 200 here. Strong stance on the weekly as well, but 1, 2, 3, look at that. Wiped out 3 weeks in 1 week here. And pretty much in 1 day it wiped out 3 weeks of gains. Here's your trend line up here. Till it gets past that and goes to the 250, then higher prices, maybe off a consolidation pattern. If this comes back down and comes back to the 240 area like we talked about, then we'll look for a bounce or see what this thing does. Does it go down sideways? Does it start going sideways here on the weekly? Again, Monday going into next Friday, options X, we'll know more. But right now, a little bit good pullback here. Like I said, 3 3.25 weeks they wiped out in 1 week, guys, or I should say 1 day. So SPY still okay, still above the moving averages on the weekly time frame, still in a strong stance. Let's see what we get next week going into options X. IWM, this one's getting a little bit of a beat down. Weekly chart, look at this. Here's your big channel, guys. Look where we stopped, at the low of the channel. So weekly close, very important. Can't really talk too much during the week, but if this thing goes down, I'm thinking 134.12 or wherever the 50 MA here is, and then you have a low pivot here around 132. So if it does start to slide, look for those areas of support. If those give out, guys, here's the next gap fill. This is a weekly chart, but 127.33. Let's go to the daily. Weekly again at the low end of the range, chopping around, still a bullish pattern, but now we're back. Remember, we were at the upper end of the range, just couldn't handle it, came right back in. This is a pretty good sell bar, guys, and look at the volume, so got to watch out. I'm thinking at least here. If not, we're going to this low pivot at 132.57. Let's go to the daily chart. 200 MA. We watched that on Friday, guys, and look at this is that trend line. This is that channel that we've been in. Right to the bottom, and it looked like it closed like right on top of that. So you have the 200 MA on here, support as well. Big support right here, guys. But remember, the IWM's lagging again. Never could. It was almost starting to lead. Everyone was getting excited and then turned around and just flopped out. Bullish, you got to hold the 200. You got to just launch up here, start filling gaps, get above the 20 and the 50, and then go on its merry way. If it does do that, then we're looking for the highs around the 145 to the 150 area, and then we'll take it from there. Gosh, big channel here, though, guys. Look at that. Up and down. Pretty good bullish one, too, but, man, right back to the bottom bottom of that area, and this trend line has to hold. Again, just like the SPY now, if this starts to go sideways, this most likely will be setting up to go down. Or do we retrace back maybe up into this, moving averages, maybe gap fill around the 140 area, because the 20 MA will start curling down. You got gap fill. This goes up 2-3 days. That could be our area for the next wave down, possibly. Again, we're going to wait for pattern. We have 3 days down, one little bit of green candle on a pause day. So let's see what we get next week, going again into the real shark week, guys. Options X weekly, like we said, we went over this one, bottom of the channel. Look at that though, pretty good bullish pattern though. Let's see if we can hold this channel though. If we hold it, then we'll probably go right back to the top, and maybe we'll just keep going up and down, and and seeing what happens. But again, who knows? That's buy the dip mentality's been in here, so watch for that. But watch for volume. Volume will be key in these markets, guys, going into next week. So let's get into the Qs. Qs, nice little sell-off here. Remember, we talked about this little inside bar bearish pattern. We did slide today, but then boom, we bounced right back up to the 142.16 area, which is this high, which was old resistance, came through, came up, old support, then chopped around, came back in. You had the 50 MA support, bounced right up, but it did close right below this. Again, just like the SPY and the IWM, will this go down and sideways, kind of like this, down and sideways. So little bit of a weaker stance because we're below the 20 MA. Nothing wrong with this. Let's see what pattern plays out in the next week and going into Friday close, and then we'll try to figure out where this thing's going. For all I know, guys, it turns around, goes right back up, makes new all-time highs. Then I'm thinking 150, 155 for this one. If it goes down, 130 or the 200 MA will be target. You still have this big trend line here. That's going to be a big one, just like on the SPY and the IWM. That cracks. You know the story, guys. Fills the gap. This cracks. We're going here and possibly a little bit lower. Again, we'll watch this chart. We'll see what the pattern plays out. Again, goes back up. Bulls, you got to get back above the 20, shoot for the all-time highs, and continue going. Bears, you want to stay in this lower range down here, just like this, down sideways. We had a little pop here. We came right back in, and then boom, right back down. So right now, daily chart, nothing wrong. A little bit weaker because you're below the 20. But, no worries there. And then the weekly chart, you're still above all the MAs, still pretty good up in this area. Had a little bit of a nice pullback last week, but, nothing serious. You're still at the top of the range here. Now, if next week brings us down to this 20 MA at 138.44, then we'll be talking that possibly we might start to slide and get a little bit lower. We still have the big trend line here on the weekly. Let me draw that a little bit lower. That's the big one, so we'll see if we could come back into that, or if that's a good bounce area, or does it lead the way down to the, you got some gaps to fill around 130, what is that, 129.63, and ultimately you have the 50 MA around 128.40. This will keep continuing to curl up as long as it's up there, so maybe this curls up into 130 or so, and maybe gap fill of these low pivots. That would be even a better area for a possible bounce, so watch for that. Let's go into the DIA. DIA, we're going to go right to the daily. Daily chart, same thing. We talked about this, getting a little bit stretched, has a little bit of a tail on there, a couple days down. Now we're waiting for down and sideways. We are above the moving averages on the daily chart on this one, the only one that is. So let's keep an eye on this. If this 20 MA and 50 MA holds, then we'll just wait for pattern sideways for the next leg, possibly down. If it does stay down in this range, right around 218.73. If this consolidates, this will be an inside bar, bearish pattern. Even though it's above the MAs in a strong stance at the all-time highs, this is slightly bearish. If this bearish pattern fails, we always been talking about the 225, 230, 235 or 236 area. There is a trend line going up. I have that one at my shop, but right now this is what we're looking at. When we get to these areas, then we'll try to figure out where these things this ETF can go. So right now, still a strong stance, but a little overdone to the upside, guys. If this starts to crack these MAs, we're going right down here to 204 and then possibly a little bit lower, so watch for that. Again, till it happens, then we'll be waiting for pattern here. So let's see if this goes sideways or if we just get some follow through down. Monday, big week, options X. Let's see where these guys want these markets to go. The IYT, though, guys, IYT held up okay. Had no choice, really. It came off this high here, boom, a little bit bearish, boom again. This is setting up in the lower range, bearish side, down sideways, bearish pattern. Nice retrace out because everyone, just buy the dip. It's going to automatically go up, and then they took it right back down. So they did close it above the 200 MA. It is inside this bar. going sideways. In my opinion, this thing's setting up for lower prices. It'll be right here around 157.70 or 157.68. If this area gives out, well, let's see. If this comes straight down and then starts to consolidate for the next leg down, then we'll see. Or do we come right back in and then get the next leg up back into the MAs? You know, it comes back down here, bounces back up, goes back into the MAs, and then the next leg down. This is a pretty good bearish pattern here, guys. If it fails, bulls, you got to get above this pivot, above the 20, above the 50, and you got to get above this and fill this gap. If you can't get above this area right in here where you had a little bit of consolidation, you will have more resistance in here, right around 171. Yeah, around 171, 170.50. You got a gap fill right here at 170.68. So great resistance going up. I mean, we have, I guess, yeah, gap fill. You know, they made sure to get a couple gap ups on here, so you get some gap fills and some good support. So, but if this little pattern plays out here, we'll be going to 157 with no problem at all. So watch for that as well. Let's go to the weekly. Weekly time frame, kind of same thing. You know, we went straight up, pulled back, a little bit bearish here, and this one did close below the 20, so it's a little bit weaker of a stance, but what a nice pullback, guys. And remember, this is like the IWM. It has to lead, and this one's lagging again. So let's see what next week brings. Let's see what the Friday close, if that will tell us anything. But you do have this trend line down here as well, and that's what it's trying to hold for dear life on the IYT. Again, guys, I really want to thank you for stopping by. Hopefully these videos are helping some people. I'm going to make a couple more tonight, so keep an eye on it, or even for the weekend and stuff. We're going through the weeklies and the dailies today, so it's really exciting. And don't forget about Cobra Trading, guys. Give them a call, check them out, see what they have to say, and remember, tell them StockBookie sent you. Again, guys, thanks for stopping by. God bless. See you on the charts.